Rach,
Hi, how
good.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, huh?
We're cleaning out the guest room today.
Oh,
Not very fun. We have company coming, so it's like all of the stuff that's been piling up for the last few years.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that sounds like great fun.
Oh, it's a great day.
No sarcasm whatsoever. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Oh, well, how's everything else been otherwise?
Crazy
Yeah,
life, busy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we can talk religion and politics, but doing a lot of that.
Well, we may need to set up another call for that one.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms that we could open.
I love it though. Isn't
Yeah.
that weird that I would love politics?
I still don't. I still don't. I'm not a
I
big
don't
fan.
I don't know what it is, but man, I love it. But it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely is. It's definitely an interesting time frame we're in right now, huh?
Oh my God. Yeah. Are we the only ones in the meeting right now?
It looks like it. I had two people registered. Other people were kind of like, well, actually, yeah. So I had another lady that I thought was going to be hopping in. I'm going to give her a couple minutes here and we'll see whether or
Yeah.
not she hops in and you know,
Yeah.
and then we'll get
Yeah.
started. So,
It's
but
I've been late many times because the Zoom thing, it's like I have the app, but it doesn't always open the app, and then I have to like re-sign in and all of that. So it's like, yeah,
oh,
we
I
can
know.
definitely wait a minute.
Yeah, no, give her a minute. I didn't see that she had registered yet. She was like a last minute, like, oh my gosh, I just saw this. So yeah, so she was registering. The other person I have registered, I'm just going to be sending the recording to. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, so we can chat for another, like, couple minutes before,
Yes.
yeah, before,
Okay. How's your family?
doing good, doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The boys are all graduated and one of them's married and um yeah, so we've got Kyle, he got married 3 years ago. Wow, it's already been 3 years. That's crazy, actually. Yeah. um hmm,
I always
Crazy
say
how
give
fast it
or
goes,
take. I'm always like give or take 2 years for COVID because
right,
whatever happened
right.
during that time, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And now I'm like, okay, so is it 3 years or is this going to be, because they got married in July, and I'm like, is this really going to be 4 years? I feel like this is 3 years. This can't be 4 years. Uh, but it could be, possibly could be. Yeah, so they got married, they bought the house next door, which is right, super cool. So
oh
like,
my God.
yeah, super crazy. Just God just opened the door for that one. That one was a huge godsend in regards to how much they were able to get the place for and all of that. So, and just
Wow.
being, because they're young, they're 23. So, like, to be able to actually buy a place so soon, was crazy. So, yeah. And then the other two, they're all working full time. They're just two of them are still at home and just trying to like save and figure out what's next. My oldest of the twins, he's just saving and hopefully wants to get his own place at some point. But Bend is super expensive. So
Yeah.
trying to get a place on your own sometimes is a little challenging. So yeah, he's just
Yeah.
keep stashing money away and hopefully get to where he can actually put a good down payment on something he can afford. So, and
Yeah.
Luke, my youngest, we'll see. I mean, he's just working full time and just trying to figure out what he wants to do. He still not quite sure what he wants to be when he grows up. So so
I mean, neither do I.
right.
I'm in politics. Who would
Yeah.
ever-
What? Really? She's like, I think I might want to.
That's not what I said I wanted to do when I grow up.
Right? Yeah, no, that's definitely not what I say, but
No.
right. Hey, you know what? You got a heart and passion for it, then go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
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 I just got sworn into Daughters of the American Revolution
Okay.
a few months ago. So
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot with that too. It's like I have an obligation
Yeah.
to fight for my country. Like my
Yeah.
forefathers died for it. So I'm committed,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind
Very
of crazy
cool.
when you look back at your ancestors and read about them and stuff, and it's like, wow,
Hmm.
that's where I got it.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
That's
think
very cool.
I think I have five, maybe seven, but at least five people that in my family that fought in the American Revolution.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
I know my
That's
whole
great.
grandfather's side of the family, they were
Mhm.
all in on it.
Wow.
So
That's very cool. Very cool.
it's kind of cool to look
Yeah.
into the history too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my dear, I don't think
Yeah.
anybody else is hopping in. So I
Okay.
think we're going to go ahead and get started. I would love to hear. So, like, were you, when you saw, like the little message that I had sent and stuff, were you kind of like, hey, I think I'm kind of interested in that? Is there something about it that interested you?
Well, I'm old and and we travel a lot, and
Okay.
so I do have that inflammation problem. Like
Okay.
I have to really work hard to not get inflammation from, flying and stuff.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What kind of symptoms are you dealing with? Is it just swelling or is it more than that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's other symptoms that are from inflammation. There could be that I don't know.
Okay.
But
Well,
I really hate it when my feet swell up on the airplanes and stuff, and we do these long flights. And
yeah. Yeah.
the last time, I'm just like, I gotta be proactive about this.
Yeah.
And my husband too, we're getting older, and his parents are so freaking healthy, and they're all about anti-inflammation diet. And
Mhm. Yeah.
so I wanted to learn
Yeah.
more about that for us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're gonna talk through that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and
Okay.
just kind of give you the view of the presentation that I got going on. Maybe.
Where's my,
Mhm.
should I mute myself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm muting.
Wait. All right. So we are going to talk through today how to optimize your health without spending hours in the gym. And the reason why I titled it this is because I think a lot of times people have a tendency to think that to lose weight, to feel better, that means I have to go to the gym, I have to work out more. And really, on a whole, nutrition becomes key for this. Nutrition is the key for optimizing your health, so that you don't have to spend hours in the gym. So we're gonna talk through what that looks like and what that means. So if you're someone who feels like you've been eating healthy and you've been working out hard and you just continue to struggle with weight or energy and focus and other health issues, then this is definitely for you. So you may be here because you need to identify whether or not you have symptoms of inflammation, or to learn the foods to avoid if you're experiencing symptoms of inflammation. And then also to understand why you might even be struggling to look and feel great, even if you're eating a healthy diet, which a lot of times people feel like, oh, I'm eating healthy, why can I not feel as good as I should be feeling if I'm eating healthy? And sometimes that just means you're just not eating the right plan. So just a little bit about me. So I've been in the fitness and nutrition industry for 6 years now. I'm certified through NASM as a personal trainer, a corrective exercise specialist, and also a nutrition coach. Part of the reason my passion is to do what I'm doing now. Sorry, I'm keep forgetting to scroll through this here. So I have dealt with chronic inflammation and gut issues that started 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, actually, but they finally showed themselves about 19 years ago. So for me, it started with some I ended up having food poisoning when I was in high school. And that actually started a chain effect of SIBO. So SIBO, if you don't know what that is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And so what happened is when I had that food poisoning, some of that bacteria got backed up into my small intestine, and then it just kind of made its home, and then it wasn't supposed to be there, so it made its home and just kind of it got overgrown. But the thing about SIBO is it can kind of lay dormant for a while. It can hide itself until the optimal time, and then it rears its ugly head. So I had food poisoning when I was in high school, food poisoning again when I was pregnant with my twins. And they are now 23. So it shows you how long ago that one happened. And then my 20-year-old, I was pregnant with him and I had strep. So they treated me with antibiotics, but the problem is antibiotics will not get the bacteria completely out of your system. And so I had bacteria from all three of those episodes that basically made its home and spread throughout my system, causing leaky gut, which then caused further health challenges. So, I've had years and years of experience of walking through gut issues and having to figure out what's going to work and what's not. And, it's been a road, but my passion is to help people be able to work through and heal their guts so that they can begin to feel better, with what I've learned. So some of the lessons that I've learned, let's just talk through that. IBS. I don't know if you are familiar with IBS and what that is. Irritable bowel syndrome. One of the things that I thought was that IBS was actually I thought it was the main problem. Turns out it was actually just an underlying symptom for something bigger. So started actually with leaky gut, turned into the SIBO, and then the IBS is what presented all the symptoms of IBS. And for me, that presented with constipation and bloating and gas and just some major cramping. But a lot of that just kind of slowly, as the longer it went, the worse my symptoms got, and the more that I had issues with food sensitivities. So that just continued to increase as years went by, because the leaky gut wasn't getting treated. It wasn't getting healed. And so no matter what I would do, even if I went through, I don't know how many diets, the FODMAP, the Whole30, AIP, a combination of all those things. At one point I was in tears because I'm like, I can't eat anything without it hurting. But it's just been years of trial and error of figuring out that the IBS was actually just an underlying symptom. And I really had to work at healing the gut so that I can heal the other issues that were going on as well. So the leaky gut and then the bacteria that spread throughout my system is what was, the main cause of a lot of the symptoms that I ended up with. So just eating healthy wasn't enough to get to the root of the issue. I used to eat super healthy. The problem was I was eating foods that were actually continuing to feed the bacteria that was in my system that had escaped through my intestinal walls because of that leaky gut. So we'll get a little bit more into that later. But the other thing that I learned is just there's no quick and easy fix. It takes time and it takes hard work. One of the reasons you may be here or listening to this is that you've likely tried eating healthy and working out more, but you're not getting anywhere. Fad diets that are supposed to be anti-inflammatory, they're not giving you any success. And then doctors and over-the-counter medications, you've been trying that, but symptoms haven't been going away. You want to lose weight, gain muscle, but you don't want to spend hours at the gym every day to do it. You may also want to have more energy and focus. And then another thing is just finally going through a day without dealing with gut issues such as bloating, gas, cramping, diarrhea, and all that good stuff. But, other symptoms of inflammation that a lot of people deal with are fatigue and joint aches and pains. Brain fog is one, skin rashes, and swelling. Rachel, like you talked about, that can be another symptom of inflammation. So, if you're dealing with any of those things, you're in the right place. So we're going to talk through this. You're in the wrong place if you're looking for a 6-week weight loss challenge. That is definitely not what I am about. I'm not about a quick fix. I'm not about taking a pill to make everything better. I'm about really digging in and figuring out what the root cause of your symptoms are and figuring out the plan that's going to help you fix that. So you're in the wrong place also if you're unwilling to invest in your long-term health. Or someone who struggles to follow through. A program that is going to deal with inflammation, it takes hard work and it takes time, and it's something that you have to stick with to see the long-term benefits. So, and another thing in regards to dealing with inflammation and a anti-inflammatory type diet, if you don't deal well with food restrictions, that's definitely something you need to be aware of as well if you're looking at trying to start something like that. Because to deal with inflammation and to deal with bacteria in your system, you have to have some food restrictions for a short period of time. It's not the rest of your life, but it is a short period of time where you need to do that so you can actually effectively deal with those things. But just know that, it's not an easy road to walk, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and getting rid of those symptoms that you're having, it's there. There's a hope. You just gotta walk the road to get there. So, so today, it's really, like I said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to try in the next 30 minutes to share with you as much as I can about nutritional changes that you can be making to reduce the inflammation. And my goal for this masterclass is that you'll walk away with some new knowledge about what you can do to optimize your health. So this is one of my clients, Jamie. So before we started working together, he was dealing with gut issues, skin rashes, joint aches and pains, and wanted to lose 15 pounds. Another thing about him, he dealt with candida. So that was part of the skin rashes and the gut issues. Now we've been working together for, it's actually about 6 weeks now. But he, gut issues and skin rashes are almost completely gone. Hardly any joint pain, aches and pains. And then he's actually lost 8 of the 15 pounds. He's lost a little bit more now, but in the 4 weeks that, in the first 4 weeks of us working together, he has already lost 8 of the 15 pounds that he wanted to lose. So, he's doing really well, sticking with the program and just, finding that it's benefiting him so much. So that's pretty exciting to see. My client, Bethany, so a lot of the stuff that she dealt with before. So she has dealt with some chronic stuff because of Lyme disease, because of other health complications that came because of that. So some of the stuff that she's dealt with, gut issues, joint aches and pains, and then she wanted to lose like 30 plus pounds. So, now we finished a 3-month program for her. She definitely wanted to continue, just wasn't able to at the time. But in the 3 months that we worked together, she was able to find a significant decrease in her symptoms, significant decrease in joint aches and pains. And then she lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. And she was definitely seeing the benefit. Brain fog, fatigue, depression, all of that kind of stuff was definitely significant decrease in all of those things. So that was very encouraging for her to see that progress. So what we're going to talk through today is just kind of a step 3-step process about how to kind of, one, identify the symptoms, foods to avoid, and why eating healthy isn't enough. Okay. So step 1, we're going to talk about IDing the symptoms. So this is not an exhaustive list that I'm going to give you, but these are some of the symptoms that, some of the main symptoms that people find that they are dealing with if they are dealing with inflammation. So, if you're wanting to step back and say, hey, do I have inflammation going on? First step, let's ID symptoms that you've got going on. Do you have any gut issues or bloating or constipation or diarrhea or cramping? That's one of the main things that people with leaky gut, inflammation, those are some of the main things that they have going on. Joint aches and pains, fatigue, skin rashes, headaches, brain fog. And also inability to lose weight. That is actually another cause of inflammation. When your body is inflamed, and you have areas that that are chronically inflamed, your body is not going to want to, let's put it simply, your body's not going to want to let go of that weight. So inability to lose weight is actually a symptom of inflammation. And so once you identify those symptoms, you need to identify how long you've been dealing with them and when they occur. Do they occur around certain foods that you're eating, around certain things that you're doing, so that you can identify, okay, what's going on? What's really going on? Let's get to the root of why I have this inflammation. How long have I had it? And why do I have it? What's causing it? So, so you're going to want to, step one, just inventory symptoms so that you can know if inflammation is the root cause of what you've got going on. So just an example, I have a client, Kevin, that I just started with not long ago. And he had inflammation going on, but not knowing, he didn't know what to do about it. And unfortunately, he had been dealing with this for like 6 to 8 years. He had gone through a process like this. If he had gone through a process like this sooner, he would have been able to avoid some of the discomfort that he was going through. But a month ago, about a month before we started working together, he ended up having a pretty major medical kind of issue, I would say. So he was feeling horrible, the fatigue, the gut stuff, a lot of stuff going on. It really made him think he had something major going on, and it ended up passing, but then we ended up connecting. And I think really when it comes down to it, he's had some leaky gut going on for a long time. So let's just, when we step back and look at that, I say leaky gut. Do you know what leaky gut is, Rachel? Okay, so let me just explain a little bit about leaky gut. So leaky gut is basically when the intestinal walls are damaged, and they're pretty thin. It's not like they're super thick, so it doesn't take a lot. There's a lot of things that can cause that damage, but you basically just get little holes that are torn in the intestinal walls. And so with leaky gut, when you have those holes, bacteria and food particles and things like that can escape into the bloodstream and spread throughout the system. And that bacteria is not supposed to be, those food particles are not supposed to be in the bloodstream. They're not supposed to be there. So what happens then is the body attacks. It's that, inflammation response, because there is something foreign in the bloodstream that should not be there. And so the body's immune system kicks in. And the problem is if that leaky gut isn't dealt with, then chronically, if it's left, that bacteria, the food particles, will continue to leak into the bloodstream. And then that immune system is consistently turned on. So what you'll find a lot of times is people end up with autoimmune disorders and things like that kicking in, because the inflammation response has been going on so long that it ends up flipping a switch and autoimmune disorders get turned on. So does that make sense? Yeah. So, like Kevin, I feel like we've caught it before, before he has any like major medical stuff happening. But if we had, connected earlier, he would have been able to avoid some of the stuff that he's gone through. But I'm happy to be able to, to be a part of helping him walk through that now. So let's talk about food, step 2, and that's foods to avoid. So this, once again, not an exhaustive list, but this is just an idea for you of foods that would be best to avoid. First of all, if you're dealing with inflammation, but just period. I think for a lot of people, processed foods, a lot of times the sugars. So if you're dealing with inflammation, these are definite foods that you should be avoiding, because the problem is like we talked about with the leaky gut. So you get bacteria leaked into your bloodstream. Okay. And then that bacteria actually feeds on things like the sugars, the grains. Those all break down into sugars, and bacteria likes sugars. So one of the things that, an anti-inflammatory diet that is targeted to reduce inflammation in your system, is going to take out foods that will feed that bacteria. So there's a difference between just trying to reduce the inflammation and between trying to kill bacteria in your system, starve bacteria in your system. And so that will create need for a different diet. Does that make sense? So, the foods that you definitely want to avoid: processed foods, sugars, grains, starchy vegetables like potatoes, or any starchy type things, and alcohol. Alcohol is definitely one that will feed the bacteria far too efficiently, actually. So, example of this, my client Jamie. So he drank wine every day before. He drank wine every day before we started working together. He ate pretty healthy, but he still had symptoms happening. And he regularly craved sugars. So now that we've been working together for the last 6 weeks, he has had wine a couple times in the last 6 weeks. He does find that it does cause rashes for him to reappear. So like, he had gone like 4 weeks without having it. Inserted it back in at an event or something, and found that the skin rash that he was normally dealing with that had gone away, that it kind of started to reappear again. So one, it's not just that he'll have to be avoiding alcohol for the rest of his life, but until we get his gut healed up and we get the bacteria out of his system, it's going to be something that he's going to have to watch. So for him, with the right plan, his gut issues, they're pretty much non-existent. And he had quite a bit of stuff going on. I mean, he was definitely dealing with a lot of discomfort, gut wise. And so for him now to see that being on the right plan, his gut issues literally are pretty much non-existent. It's exciting for him. It's been really cool. And then cravings, those are also pretty much non-existent for him as well. So some action steps that you can take on this: ditch the foods you can't eat. That's first and foremost. Make a list of the things that you can. I think the thing is that I found for myself that focusing on what you can have and not on what you can't have is very important, because if all you focus on is what you can't have, then that's going to consume your thoughts and you're not going to be able to stick to a plan. And then find creative ways to enjoy the foods that you can eat. Spicing them up with seasonings, and then just finding new ways to make them. It's going to be very important. So, I mean, I'll tell you from my own experience that like it took me years to figure this out and to create recipes that not only myself, but others would enjoy. It takes time, it takes some effort, and it can be overwhelming at first, but, especially when you're trying to make a lot of changes at once. But that's where I think it's, it can be very important to have someone to help you navigate that road and someone to help support you through that. So step 3, let's talk a little bit about why eating healthy just isn't enough. So eating healthy, it doesn't allow you to just get to the root of the issue. So like we talked about, if you're dealing with leaky gut, and most people who are dealing with inflammation are dealing with leaky gut. It's just reality. So if you're dealing with leaky gut, you need to get to the root of that and heal that leaky gut so that you can begin to feel better and eliminate that inflammation. And to do that, like we talked about, there's a difference between just taking care of inflammation and killing or starving bacteria. And so that's where eating healthy is not enough, because you can eat all the healthy things that are superfoods and all of that kind of stuff. But if they have sugars and starches and things that are feeding the bacteria, then you're not going to make any headway. So, and that's where, even healthy foods can contain carbs and sugars that feed the bacteria. So continuing to feed the bacteria is going to result in, either symptoms just staying or symptoms increasing. And the more that you let it go, the more the symptoms are going to increase. So it's important to get on that and really begin to heal the gut and kill the bacteria so that you can actually eliminate that stuff. And so one of my clients, Tim, that I've been working with now for I'm just giving you some of my more current ones. I've been working with him for about 5 weeks now. And so for him, he had chronic fatigue. That's one of his main things is chronic fatigue, but he had gut issues, joint aches and pains, and then depression. So he ate pretty healthy, but he definitely had symptoms regularly, and just could not identify the root cause. So when we started working together, it was pretty cool to be able to dig in and really help him figure out and identify the root cause and where it started, to trace back and really go, oh my goodness, pretty darn sure this started for you in high school. And he's like 39 now. So it's kind of wild how long people deal with things without realizing, oh my gosh, I have something here that needs to be dealt with. They just kind of go, well, this is just how it's going to be. And that's how I was with my IBS. I thought it was just going to be the way it was for the rest of my life until I realized, oh my gosh, I can take care of this. I can get this healed up. So we've been able to help him find decrease in that fatigue. Gut issues are almost non-existent. I did actually just meet with him just a little bit earlier. And the funny thing is he did, took his son to the movies, and without thinking, reached over, grabbed some popcorn and started eating it. Popcorn is definitely not on the list of foods to eat while you're dealing with inflammation. But, so he said he felt it for about, 3 hours, but in comparison to what it would have been before, he would have gone days with feeling, having eaten that popcorn. He just he put a couple handfuls in, and all of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And it didn't even taste as good to him as it used to. He's changed a lot in that respect as well. So, but anyways, to all that to say, so his gut issues are pretty much non-existent. Depression is definitely significantly increased, and decreased. And that's been cool to see. Been working on getting better sleep, because sleep has definitely been an issue for him. And so we're just finding for him, with the right plan, the symptoms have significantly improved. And then being able to dig in and identify the root cause, allowed me to make a customized plan for him. So some action steps that you can take on this. One, you got to identify the root cause or causes. Sometimes it's a little bit more than just one thing. Some people it's stress. Some people, like Tim, we found it was, when we look back at his story, it started in high school with a whole lot of stress, dehydration, constant physical activity without rehydrating. And that's when the whole thing started for him. So it's crazy what damage can happen to us internally when we're not taking care of ourselves the way that we're supposed to, and the things that we just kind of push through and work through. So it's really important to step back and really just look at things and identify what the root cause or causes are. And you want to analyze what your current nutrition is, so that you can see if you're eating foods that are feeding the bacteria. And also you want to adjust your nutrition so that you can keep from feeding that bacteria. So let's just kind of recap a little bit on this. So you obviously want to inventory your symptoms so you can know if inflammation is the root cause of what you've got going on. You want to identify foods to avoid so that you can begin reducing inflammation, and then identify root causes and foods to eliminate so that you can create a plan so that you can starve bacteria in your system. So my process that I take my clients through, I have 4 pillars to my process, and we always start with a whole health inventory. And so that whole health inventory is where we walk through and we dig in and figure out what exactly is going on. We start with gut health test. We go ahead and look at, exercise experience and past injuries and all of that good stuff. We look at food likes and dislikes and food nutritional patterns and habits and all of that stuff, and figure out baseline, where are we starting? What's the root cause of what's going on? And then that way we can effectively build from there. Second pillar for me is purposeful and sustainable nutrition. So I find that nutrition is key. It's key for your goals, whether it's weight loss, whether it's, reducing inflammation, whether it's building muscle, whatever it is, nutrition is key. Exercise is definitely important, but unless you have your health and your nutrition optimized, exercise is not going to be as effective. So nutrition is always next in this process. And so what we do is really step back and take what we learn from that whole health inventory, apply that to a plan nutritionally. And so with that, usually we'll start with some, a flexible meal plan that gives ideas and meals and recipes and all of that for people when they're needing to reduce inflammation. So they are specific do's and don'ts in regards to foods, but a whole load of great recipes and ideas for you for creating meals that you can enjoy that will help you to begin to reduce that inflammation. And a lot of times what I do is I start with that portion. And then once we get to where the inflammation is reduced, then we start working on learning the right level of macros for you and calories and all of that kind of stuff so that you can reach whatever goals you have in regards to the physical area. So next is health and nutrition prescribed exercise. And so, like I said, if health and nutrition are not optimized, exercise is never going to be as effective as it can be. So we always want to work on those first two things, and then we move on to exercise and make sure that, and when I say health and nutrition prescribed exercise, I also mean that, not everybody is going to be able to do the same types of exercise. This is never a cookie cutter program that I just throw at people. It's always, built to what to where you're at, to your health status, to your injuries or previous injuries or whatever you've got going on. We always build exercise so that you can meet whatever goals that you have, but that you're optimizing your health with exercise as well. And then accountability and check-ins. That is always a part of my process. That is accountability and check-ins throughout the process, where we check in once a week, and I'm available for modifications and anything that needs to be, addressed throughout the program. And then we do check-ins also to do like weigh-ins and progress photos and all of that good stuff, so that you're feeling supported and accountable to the program. So, right. Rach, if you want to go ahead and unmute, I would love to know what was kind of your biggest takeaway from today.
Actually, it was more of a question.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can do some question and answer stuff.
I was wondering, so when you talk about the leaky gut, which is actually kind of like an injury or something that needs to be healed, are you saying that just changing your diet can heal it? Or maybe you're just giving it a break to heal itself?
Right.
Or...
Yeah. So changing the diet. So when you have leaky gut, the thing is that if it was just leaky gut, and really a lot of times so I do this in phases in my program. So I'm dialing back just a little bit here. So I do this in phases in my program, mainly because not everybody's been dealing with leaky gut as long as everybody else has. So that you have some people like myself who I was dealing with leaky gut without realizing it. I was dealing with it for 30 years. So it took a while, and it took a little bit more of an aggressive treatment for me to be able to actually not only heal the leaky gut, but also to deal with the bacteria that had spread throughout my system. So, so the leaky gut itself, if that's all you've got going on is just leaky gut, and it hasn't been going on for very long, and that's where it's important to dig in and kind of figure out, how long have I been dealing with these symptoms? So you can really figure out, how long have I been dealing with leaky gut? Yes, diet is a major way. It's probably, depending on what you've got going on, it's a lot. It's at least half, if not more, of the process. There are times when you may need some supplements and maybe even some essential oils to help deal with whatever you've got going on. So if you have bacteria spread throughout your system, that takes a little bit more healing than just walking through a special diet to, to heal the leaky gut.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So I'm actually thinking also with my husband, he's been having symptoms, and we'll have to have that discussion about how long I should know. I'm his wife, but really I don't know how long, but it's gotten really bad. And it sounds like that is what's going on with him, because we're like, oh, don't drink milk. Oh, you're, lactose intolerant. Oh, you can't have flour, but it
Yeah.
really wasn't those particular things, because there was, it didn't matter what he didn't eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No.
We could cut that out. He still has issues. And I mean, me too. I don't really have a lot of gut issues, but I've always been aware of the like the candida and the yeast thing. And whenever I look into that, I'm like, oh, that is a problem. Like I have seborrheic dermatitis. That's totally, related to that. And
Yeah.
but listening to what you were talking about, it sounds like something my husband could, I need to talk to him about that if he's interested in
Mm.
taking action on that,
Yeah.
because
Definitely.
nothing we've done has made it better.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
and that's the challenging thing about, when you've been dealing with some of those gut issues or food sensitivities that have been showing up, those are a lot of times they present, but the problem is they're not the actual root of what's going
right.
on. So, and the more that you let the leaky gut go, the more that those food sensitivities will continue to increase. You'll find that more and more foods are bothering you. And it, like I said, I mean, just from myself, my story, as I look back, there were times when I was like, what can I eat without it bothering me? I felt like I had gotten to a point where I didn't know what I could eat, So
Yeah.
years. I mean, I'm serious. I don't know how many times.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Wait, you talked about that a little bit before, back when we were at the church.
Yeah.
I
That's all
called it my
campus.
my parking lot church, but the
Yeah.
one up there in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But I remember that. And so I do have food sensitivities. Now, does that also would pertain to like allergies?
Yeah, actually, so if you look at leaky gut, there's a lot of times that allergies can be caused by leaky gut.
So both of us have issues then, because I've never had allergies,
Yeah.
and now I do.
Yeah.
But also I've done some research into citric acid
Hmm.
made from black mold.
Yeah.
It really affects me, but I think a lot of things do. So I mean, maybe just our age, maybe we both could benefit from it. But yeah, it is disturbing having sensitivities. I've never had,
Mhm.
well, I've always been sensitive,
Right.
but I've never had reactions to
Right.
stuff like allergies.
Hmm.
And I definitely do now. And so, yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, there's been a lot of things that have happened that I thought were strange,
Hmm.
especially with my skin.
Right. Yeah. And skin rashes are definitely one of the things
Yeah,
that
I have
can
one right now, right
cause.
here.
Yeah.
But that was, it's lasted a long time, but that was because I sprayed some stuff on my hair that had freaking citrus in it.
Okay. Got you. And
But then it didn't go away.
how long has that been happening? How long has that been an issue?
Well, probably just the last few years,
Okay. Yeah.
couple years, two
Mhm.
2 years.
Yeah.
I know my grandma had an allergy to citrus. It's kind of like a Norwe or not Norwegian, a Swedish thing that maybe runs
Okay.
in the family.
Okay.
Um, but it's
Yeah.
gotten worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I said it's very important to step back and just inventory those symptoms, really dig in and just try to figure out, okay, what are the symptoms that I'm having? How long have I been having them? And what do they surround? Do they surround, or, do they happen after I've eaten certain foods? Do they have to happen after I've been exposed to certain things? That's, it's digging in and figuring out this stuff. So the problem, the problem that we have is that we here in the US have exposure to things that we should not be putting on and in our bodies on a regular basis. And so I really believe that more people than not deal with leaky gut without realizing it. Some may
Yeah.
be more extreme than others, but if you think about the things that we put on to our body, which very porous, it soaks it in. You know, so we're exposed to chemicals, we're exposed to, you know, toxins on a regular basis that should not be in or on us. Medications, over-the-counter medications, those things are constantly you know, poisoning our systems essentially. You know, so I'm, you know, don't want to get on my soapbox here, but there's so much that we are doing on a regular basis that we have to step back and look at and go, okay, you know what? I need to start cleaning up things, not only in my diet, but also in the things that I'm putting on my body as well. That's important too. So, you know, when we're constantly putting, I mean, if you even think about shampoo and conditioner and the amount of like, you know, synthetic fragrances and parabens and sulfates and all of that kind of stuff that are in most shampoos and conditioners and body washes. And that stuff is soaking into our system on a regular basis, and causing damage to our internal organs and intestinal walls and all of that. So, yeah.
So when I discovered about the citric acid and how it's now manufactured from black mold and the symptoms it causes, I discovered the FDA has on their website, they have a GRAS list. Do you know about that?
They have a what?
It's called a GRAS list, GRAS list.
Okay.
You would know if you knew. But they have everyone should go look at that, but it's GRAS stands for generally recognized as safe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can even imagine.
And that talks about all the stuff that's in our food and everything that they're not supposed to be there.
Do you realize most of the stuff? I mean, there's so many things we have on our, you know, on the walls in grocery stores and, you know, things that people get on a regular basis that are banned in other countries because they're not safe to be putting in our systems on a regular basis.
Well, I know we spend time in Sweden and we were in Norway this last year.
Yeah.
Are you Norwegian?
Well, my husband.
Nordland.
Yeah.
Nordland.
Yeah.
But they're they don't use the chemicals we use.
Yeah.
In their food. We felt so good after we came home.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We took a trip to even Hawaii, and having the fresh food from Hawaii felt way better. Way better. Yeah.
Very concerning. When I realized the citric acid thing, I started to realize, well, there's lots of things that are hurting us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
That is just there in our food, and it's generally recognized as safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
definitely.
no, that's really interesting. So I kind of expected that you were going to get to a product or something that you were selling, but really you're a coach.
Yeah.
You've been through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're helping other people.
Yeah. So this is, you know, this is me. This is what I do. I help people reduce the inflammation in their systems with a program. And it's not about, it's not about a product. This is about, you know, lifestyle change and really, digging in and figuring out why you've got going on, what you've got going on, changing the things that need to be changed, and helping you feel better. That's my program. That's what it's about.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, just for, you know, anybody that's going to be watching this, so what to do now? I mean, if you want more information or support, definitely let's talk. I mean, there's so much more than what I talked about today. So if today opened your eyes to symptoms that you've been having, or if you're interested in more information, what I do is a discovery call. So what that does is it gives us the opportunity to talk more, to dig in depth, to know about your symptoms, what you've got going on, how long you've been dealing with them, so we can identify the root causes, so that, you know, I can understand if I can be a help to you. So if that's something that you're interested in, next step is just to, to schedule a call. And I can either email you a calendar link to do that. And that is it's a complimentary call. This is not a pressure or obligation to sign up with me. This is just, if you want more information, you want to get to know me more, you want to talk through it some more. It's just basically, it's an hour-long call for us to really dig in and figure out what's going on. And then from there, if you decide you want to, then we can schedule a call, an additional call to come back and I can bring back what a customized program would look like for you. And we'll talk through pricing and all that good kind of stuff then. So that's what my program is. So any questions?
Very cool. No, I don't think I have any questions right now.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wire.